Welcome back to another installment of our voter education series, getting you set with everything you need to know heading into the 2025 Milford local election. We're taking you through all of the different positions on the ballot, and today we're so happy to be joined by an individual who has served in multiple capacities here in local government here in Milford, but today to talk a little bit about the trustees of Vernon Grove Cemetery, we have Scott Crisafulli with us. Scott, welcome into the show. Good to have you with us.
Thanks for having me.
Again, Scott, we've had this opportunity to partner with Citizens for Milford to talk with a lot of folks who hold positions here locally in Milford, and we could probably talk about a lot of different positions that you hold here in town. But today I want to put the focus on the trustees of Vernon Grove Cemetery. So if you could kind of, in your own words, go through the basic roles and responsibilities involved in being a trustee for Vernon Grove.
Okay. So I've been a trustee for, I'm on my I'm on my fifth year. So started out a little different than it is today. Back then we were overseeing every operation in the cemetery, whether it was employees, the job they do day to day, the funding, the spending, the bills, the payroll, all that stuff. So since I got on there, we have now had the opportunity to add a new position, which is a cemetery, Vernon Grove Cemetery advisor, or I forget the exact name, sorry. But that position is part-time, and they basically oversee the day-to-day operations as far as, the payroll to the bills to the burials and the sales of the plots, and so they've taken that kind of out of our hands. It was tough for us to do on a monthly basis, and we only meet once a month. So, but our role is to oversee that position more than anything. Any questions with payroll, any question with budgeting, writing the budget now, which is something that the trustees do, which we never really did that in the past. We've got more into that end of it rather than the day-to-day operations.
So with that shift, how do you describe sort of the weekly or month-to-month time commitment involved in being part of the trustees?
So right now I'm the chair, so my time is probably about an hour a week, and then we have a meeting once a month, and that's usually a couple hours.
What was it that made you decide to first get involved with the trustees over at Vernon Grove?
Knowledge, I guess. I wanted to know how the cemetery ran. Have no idea how a cemetery ran when I got into it, and how I could help make that cemetery better, or improve what they're doing, or just to learn what they do. Anybody that's wants to get into a position like that, that's a good stepping stone to your first elected position. It's very basic. So.
That probably takes us into a good kind of broad conversation as we're giving information to the viewers about getting involved in local government here in Milford. There's obviously a lot of different positions in town with a range of responsibilities. So for someone who has held multiple positions around town, what is your advice for if someone has an interest in getting involved in local government, where to start?
That's a great starting point right there. It is so basic, but yet to get there is the same. You know what I mean? So you have to get elected. You have to get your signatures. You have to get on the ballot. You have to do all that. You have to, maybe not so much for that position because it's usually not a tough race, but, you got to advertise. You got to do interviews. You got to put signs out. It's a good startup to understand how it works without spending tons of money and being really buried in it. So absolutely a good stepping stone for your first elected position.
For you personally, what has been your motivation to get as involved as you've become in government here in Milford?
Well, I am a lifelong citizen of Milford, born, raised, schooled, and work here. So, with my other position as highway surveyor and also parks commissioner, this is all the same kind of things I do as the highway surveyor as far as budgeting, and the work itself is pretty similar. And the employees, overseeing employees, and all these things are the same. And I know over the years how I've been able, from that position, to help other departments, such as parks and cemetery and, even school department. But not knowing a lot about it from the inside. I didn't know how it ran, but I offered to help and we did what we could do. But to be in there and see how it runs and see the needs and be able to help each other, each department, it's been great. And we've got a lot more done. We've saved a lot of money. We've been able to combine stuff and kind of, make everything easier and better, pretty much.
I would imagine that for people out there who have an interest in getting involved, there's maybe things that hold them back, worrying that they don't have enough of a knowledge to be able to bring to the table, or they may not have the time available in their schedule to commit. But it seems as though, from what you're saying, that as long as you have an interest in making the town better, you have a perspective, you have an experience that you can bring to the table, and the rest will sort of work itself out as you gain that experience on whatever board or committee you may be running for.
Exactly. You need no experience for the positions. Obviously, it's elected. You don't need the experience, and you will gain the experience. You'll start to understand town government. Where we just don't go out. We can't just go out and buy something. Everything has to be procured and out to bid, and the whole bidding processes and the way town government works as opposed to the private side. It's much different. So in the small department like the cemetery, it's very minor and minimal. So you wouldn't get overwhelmed. You can learn slowly and start to understand how it works. And I always find that, I take it for granted because I've been doing it for so long, but I find that new people come in, don't understand town government and town processes and how things are different from the private world. So if you sit back and listen to meetings, you'll understand and you'll start to learn. And, it's pretty wild watching people actually understand when they say, oh, I didn't understand that you can't go buy something for over $10,000 without getting quotes. Or, you get all these holidays off and they're all paid in unions, and we deal with unions there now also. So you learn a lot, and it's not overwhelming. So that's why it's a good stepping stone.
Yeah, that's a great perspective to have. I guess maybe along those same lines, Scott, as we wrap things up, what would be your overall advice for people, whether they're interested in potentially running for an office here in Milford, or just to encourage people to get more active in the voting process or attending town meeting? What would your overall advice be for people in terms of getting more involved with their local government?
I would say if you do want to learn, because it is learning. If anything, you're going to learn. If you do want to learn, then absolutely try it. In positions like the cemetery are usually not, usually once you're in, and it is very rare somebody runs against somebody. I don't know why. Always should happen. If you have something to offer or something you want to change, then you should do it. But just a learning experience. Government's government. Whether you are, the governor of the state or you are the trustee at Vernon Grove Cemetery, it's pretty similar. Everything's pretty similar. Just scale is different. So if you have any interest at all, absolutely give it a shot. And I can only speak for the Highway Surveyor, the Parks Commission, or the Vernon Grove Trustees, as far as what it takes to do it. Obviously. Highway Surveyor is full time. It's my life every day, 24/7, 7 days a week. So, that's a different animal. The Parks Commission is pretty intense. It's not as much time, but the issues we deal with and the amount of fields and work that has to get done, it gets intense. And Vernon Grove is much less and much easier. So obviously much simpler.
Well, great insight from someone who, again, wears a whole lot of hats taking care of things here in the Milford community. So, again, we certainly hope that these interviews help folks learn what they need to know to get more active and involved in local government here in Milford. But in the meantime, Scott Crisafulli, we thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.